Well, we had quite an interesting set of videos coming out today. As you all know, it's that day of the year where clips are strung together on a timeline with a couple of personalities that sit in front of your computer screens, and of course they reveal some awesome games for their next generation of consoles. Yeah, we're talking about the Xbox Direct Showcase, let's call it the Game Showcase, and we had a lot to discuss. I got a bunch of notes over here on the right side of my screen, and there's a lot of interesting games Microsoft revealed today. They had some misses, they had some bangers, and most importantly, they had a slew of new IPs that looks like the Series X might be one of those consoles I might want to pick up, or if you don't feel the need to pay $500 and want the freedom that a PC gives you, Game Pass Ultimate's got you covered. To me, this felt like a really great showcase of really showing and kind of affirming where Microsoft's going to be this next generation. But before I get into the politics of that, let's talk about some of the game reveals that were on the pre-show and some of the stuff that I just wanted to call out. Now, they revealed a lot of stuff at ID at Xbox and games like that, but I mainly want to keep it to the pre-show, as the ID at Xbox games didn't really interest me, and I've already kind of talked about them last year, and there wasn't much really showing or new that is going to be announced this year. You know, games like Sable and The Sword, already discussed that in prior videos, and you can literally watch my E3 2019 reactions, and you'll see me kind of go over the same sentiments. There's really not much that has changed on that front. However, they did announce a bunch of new stuff during the pre-show. Balan Wonderland, or Baleen Wonderland, if whatever it's pronounced, was announced today by Yuji Naka, the creator of games like Nights into Dreams and the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, obviously a Sega veteran, this time teaming up with Square Enix to bring us a brand new 3D platformer where you're mixing and matching a variety of costumes, exploring this Alice in Wonderland-esque world, and of course facing a bunch of tough platforming segments. Now, this game is going to be launching on the PS5 and PS4 and all of that stuff, but we don't necessarily know yet if it's going to be a exclusive to the Xbox or like a timed window, or if it's just going to be a global release all at the same time, which I'm kind of thinking it's the latter. But regardless, it was a really sick announcement for Microsoft to get their hands on, as Balan Wonderland looks awesome, and it's just that type of stuff that I'd love to see on the Xbox platform. It's really cool to see a game like this launch on a system where it's mainly about, you know, first-person shooters and racing games. It really shows that Microsoft is trying to harken back to the OG Xbox days, where they just were a platform for everything. You had your platformers, you had your, you know, action RPGs, you had your first-person shooters, you had everything under the sun back on the original Xbox and early 360 lifespan. And towards the end of it and the middle, and you guys get the gist, especially with the Xbox One, we just don't get games like that anymore as exclusives or just, you know, titles in general. Not many 3D platforms I can name off the top of my head for the Xbox One and stuff. But I think what they're doing here with that reveal / announcement was really hype, and the game itself looks absolutely incredible. I thought a lot of the gameplay aspects are very interesting. Be able to mix and match all these costumes and really give you this ebb and flow with the 3D platforming, I think is going to be really interesting to see, and I'm very much looking forward to what they're going to show come spring 2021, and I'm definitely going to be number one in line when that game comes out. Another game they showed off was a free-to-play called Exomecha. It was in pre-alpha, very early footage, so a lot of the environments looked a little bit on the bland side, but the core gunplay and gameplay looked awesome, and I really liked this Transformers-esque environments they were showing off. You had these giant mechs fighting on top of you in glorious 4K 60 FPS, and there's a lot of gunfire, explosions are going off, and it seemed like these large-scale battles were eventually you get to control mechs and, you know, throw hands essentially. I think it's going to be really interesting, and seeing that it's going to be free to play is definitely a game I'm going to keep on my radar for a long time. It also seems to be slated for an early 2021 release, which is going to be expected with all these games, so I'm pretty interested to see what it's, you know, going to be like when it drops. So that's some of the pre-games that caught my eye. Of course, we're skipping over a couple like Dragon Quest XI-S finally coming to the Xbox. The first Dragon Quest game ever to make itself on a Microsoft platform, by the way. And RPGs are really starting to inch their way over, which is awesome, especially in the JRPG field. So good stuff there. However, we got to talk about the conference as a whole. And we gotta, of course, kick it off with Halo Infinite. This game, dude, Halo Infinite's looking great. There's a lot of sick stuff that is being shown off. The utility options that we're seeing, where it looks like you can kind of exchange a grenade for more utility options, like a drop shield or a grappling hook or things like that. It's gonna be awesome to see, and I really enjoyed the gameplay dynamics that they were showing off. The animations on Master Chief look a lot more fluid than usual. Seeing him dash in and plant a spike bomb on a brute's armor, or banished armor, I'm sorry, and see him blow blow up and recoil back, shooting the legs and watching them stumble. All those cool little animation details are going to make this game really interesting to check out, and I actually really enjoyed the open world aspect that's being introduced in Halo Infinite, as we finally get to explore the entirety of a Halo ring, I'm guessing, and I think that's going to be awesome. And if it's not open world and it's more Doom-esque in terms of open-ended level design, then that's okay as well. But I just hope this makes us have a couple more, how do I put this, secrets for us to find as we go throughout the game. So this is going to be a pretty big deal in my opinion. I think Infinite's going to be awesome, and the small sliver of gameplay they showed off, and also referencing and kind of catching up to speed with the story and stuff, is going to be really cool. So kudos to that. Halo Infinite looks awesome. There's a couple stuff behind the scenes I'm hearing that it might be a live service game, and then people quickly squashed that and said no. Basically, they just confirmed there's going to be story expansions going along because they don't want to keep making, Halo Infinite 2, Halo Infinite 3, Halo, you know what I mean? So they're probably going to do story expansions to, make the story feel infinite, and I think that's a pretty cool touch. Just hopefully they don't lose sight of what's there, and that's that they lock in, make sure you have a great story out the gate, great gameplay, all that stuff, and then ease us in with some new DLC and story elements, rather than just trying to headfirst rush us into this, a live service, if you will. Knowing 343, I have faith in these guys. They know what they're doing when they've done live service stuff, like with Halo 5 Guardians. They did an excellent turn of events when they're multiplayer, in my opinion, and I wasn't even the biggest fan of Halo 5's multiplayer out the gate, but seeing how much they've progressed over the years, it's pretty impressive. And I do have faith in 343 that if they keep this train going, we're gonna have something awesome. So kudos to them. What they showed off gameplay wise was sick, and I really do expect the best from them. Another thing they showed off was Forza. It looked good. It looks really good. It didn't get a release date, strangely enough. When it comes to racing games, it's usually just in-engine gameplay. Sometimes they'll show actual gameplay, but keeping it between you and me, racing games, when they show an engine, that's the game. It's really hard for them to not make it look as good. Dirt 5 was a clear example of that. It doesn't make sense not to have the game look extremely good. That's kind of like racing games shtick. But here it looks pretty solid. It's interesting that they're going straight to motorsports instead of Horizon, as Horizon is the most popular franchise, I believe, in the Forza universe right now. And I'm kind of interested to see what they do with that. But we'll just have to wait and see. I would really enjoy if we could get a, new Horizon game, but Forza Motorsports complete rebrand or reboot, if you will, looks like it's going to be interesting. So, well, it looks good. It looks good. Everwild was another big Rare title they showed off. It's really cool to see Rare come back. It's swinging, and it's going to be an open world, open-ended adventure game where you're caring for the wildlife, really using it in tandem with nature, and I guess kind of calling out to the spirits and stuff to seem to repair nature, just help the natural flow of nature go the way it needs to be. It looked interesting enough. I loved the character designs and all of that jazz. I really absolutely enjoyed the aesthetic and the music that was playing throughout the trailer. The only downside was I kind of feel like it was been here, done that. I would really enjoy some gameplay to see what we're kind of dealing with this game, but maybe the next conference will show that. I'm a little disappointed on the, I guess, so amounts of gameplay we saw, especially with this one, as this game's been in the works for a little bit, and it would be nice to see what's going on. And I know Rare's still busy with Sea of Thieves, so I won't cut them too much flack, but I don't know, it just seemed as good as it looked and as good as it was. I need to see a little bit more. That's all my takeaways from that. Then of course we have the Dot Nod Tell Me Why game. All I'm gonna say is it looks good. It does look pretty darn good for a next-gen title. Finally getting a little bit out of that last of the Life is Strange jank mode or whatever, but it's still a Dot Nod game in my opinion, and they haven't made a decent one to me since, like, Remember Me, the Capcom game way back in 2013, 2012, I want to say. It was alright. I'm gonna play it because I love the cheesy storylines they make. I don't take them seriously in the slightest. I don't think they're good at what they do at all. But yeah, it looked okay. Ninja Theory was also up, and it was kind of interesting. I don't really know what they were trying to do here. They just showed that the next game was gonna take place in Iceland, and how they got the footage and stuff, and the rendering they're gonna use for the game, I guess with Unreal Engine 5 and all that, and it looked okay, if you will, but again, I'm gonna need to see some more. It was really weird to have the new Hellblade game come out and not really show much of what's going on. I would have really enjoyed to see, I guess, a little sliver of gameplay or a new teaser trailer or something, but cool to know that you guys are still working on it, I guess. I think Ninja Theory is taking it a little hard after that Bleeding Edge drop. I'd take it a little hard too. That game wasn't necessarily one of the best games of 2020, but yeah, hopefully they're getting hard to work on that, and again, I could have just used some gameplay. Obsidian, though, these dudes knocked it out the park. It was really awesome to see the Outer Worlds get a new story DLC expansion, along with, I guess, another one coming up soon, probably sometime in 2021. I thought it looked pretty interesting. The trailer was cut together very well. I loved the effects and transitions used, and Outer Worlds is a pretty awesome game, so I'm pretty cool to check that out eventually when it drops September 9th. I also thought Grounded, it really got its strive here. They showed off a lot of cool stuff, really made, I guess, their launch trailer debut here as it's coming out in early access / game preview this 28th, and everything they showed off on it looked great. The building mechanics looked pretty cool. It felt very natural, with all the leaves building and stuff of that nature. All the bugs looked pretty cartoony but freaky at the same time, and I'm curious to see what the storyline's going to be, as it looked like there was downed robots and all sorts of things that were going on in the trailer. So Grounded looked pretty darn good. And then of course we had their new fantasy RPG, which Obsidian is no stranger to, with a vote. I thought it looks great. I'm pretty interested to see where they're going to go with it. Again, I'm gonna need to see a little bit of more, but it is a pretty early teaser trailer. I think they're just trying to get everyone hype, and that's okay for these conferences every once in a while. So all right. The next interesting title was they picked up a new studio and they were making, I guess, story-based experiences. And we get a new IP called As Dusk Falls, and I was actually really intrigued by this game. As Dusk Falls looked pretty darn cool, and it has this really unique art style where it's this comic book-esque rendering with its characters, yet this pretty natural and well-drawn, cel-shaded style that kind of melts in well with these comic book drawn characters. And it's got a interesting storyline, seeming like a heist is going on, maybe some bank robbery aspects to it, maybe some family deaths and vengeance going on. It seems pretty darn cool, and I'm actually interested in it, even though I'm not the biggest fan of these indie storyline point-and-click games, I guess you call them, ever since the Telltale rise back at the Walking Dead Season 1. But this one actually captured my eye, I guess, in terms of its art direction and design. It just seems like a really unique look. So, I don't know. I think this is going to be a game I definitely want to take a look at when it launches. It actually had something pretty unique and interesting going on for it, but we'll just have to wait and see. Psychonauts 2 was also a big one. We got to see a lot more gameplay for it, and it was an absolute trip in more ways than one. It was really trippy. I loved the visual aesthetic, and the music by Jack Black was always a welcome choice. It's just a little sad that we didn't get any release dates, man. I'm feeling a little sketchy. I really want Psychonauts 2 to be the best it can be, but I feel like this is turning into a E3 game, if you will, where we're going to see it at every press conference, but we're not going to actually have it in our hands, and I just don't want that to happen. So hopefully it comes out soon. I don't know if they confirmed a release date early, or maybe I'm just being a little, skeptic, if you will, but great trailer. I'm getting a little worried that it's not going to come out, personally. But hey, Psychonauts 2 is going to be great from everything I'm seeing, and it looks like it's going to be a blast when it comes out eventually. I also was not expecting that Phantasy Star Online 2 expansion pass. It gave me Xenoblade Chronicles X vibes out the gate, but it looks pretty darn good. It felt like a complete overhaul of what I'm playing through with Phantasy Star Online 2 now, and I really enjoy the new visuals and options that are going to be presented, and it just looks like a much more much higher visual fidelity, much more visual flourish and all that. So it looks like it's going to be a great time when it eventually comes out. Then, the big news, even though it might not be big to you guys, but this is pretty big news to the Microsoft, I guess, community, if you will. Destiny 2 making a big comeback, Bungie, if you will, coming back to Microsoft, it seems like, which was really interesting because they were really flirting around with Activision and Sony, and, Activision and Sony kind of have their thing together. And it was interesting to see Bungie break off from these big corporations and, say, basically, like, we're trying to do this ourselves, and they went all the way right back to Microsoft. And now I guess Destiny 2 is going to be basically entirely free to play if you have Game Pass. You get to not only play the Destiny 2 base game, but the expansion passes apparently as well. And I guess the new one will be playable all through Game Pass and on all the consoles. And of course, the Series X upgrade helps too. I think that's massive. I think that's awesome. I'm really enjoying how often they kept shoving Game Pass down your throat. And I'm glad they're doing that, because I think Game Pass is one of the best services. Again, we'll get to the politics of that towards the end of the video, but stuff looks great. And then they did a quick sizzle reel of all the games that are going to be console launch exclusives, aka the launch window. So early 2021 to late 2020, the latest. So I guess spring 2021 and back is when we can expect these games to launch. And one of the big ones for me was Stalker 2. Oh my goodness, bro! Stalker is one of the best underrated underrated RPGs of all time. I guess you could call it an RRPG because it's very Russian influence, and it's definitely, if you're a fan of Fallout and you feel like Bethesda's been failing you, please pick up the Stalker franchise on Steam or GOG or something, because it's one of those franchises that really appeals to that type of audience. And if you're a fan of games like Metro and things like that, this is that type of spiritual spiritual game, not successor, but very similar to those types of games. And I think you'd be a huge fan of them. I think the Stalker franchise is sick. I love fighting its monsters, its level design and all that stuff is out of this world, and its storylines are pretty personal and really awesome to explore and go through. It's this dark, gritty world that try to find your glimmers of hope through, and it's really fun. And seeing Stalker 2 get announced for the Xbox Series X and all that is just insane, knowing that's going to be on Game Pass. And if you're a PC player, you just pay that $15 and you get it. That's awesome, dude. My mind was blown when I saw that. I'm also enjoying that Warhammer 40k Darktide. It's by the guys that did Vermintide 1 and 2, and if you know anything about those games, it's just Left 4 Dead Warhammer, but set in the 40k universe, baby. And that's exactly what I've been waiting for. I'm ready to mow down hordes of husk and enemies and yelling the commands with my it's gonna be sick, dude. It's gonna be awesome. I think it's gonna be a great game. Again, I would have honestly preferred if they showed off gameplay and not a CGI trailer. It's kind of confusing to me because it's like, you kind of know what you're gonna get out the gate. It's Left 4 Dead, right? It essentially. So seeing it not really have a gameplay trailer here was a little disheartening, but whatever they need to do to take their time to make the game, it's whatever. We just know it's going to be a console launch exclusive sometime 2021, so I'm looking forward to it. The Tetris Effect multiplayer and I guess single player enhanced edition looks pretty cool. Not much to say on that. It's just cool that Tetris Effect's any multiplayer. The Gunk was a game that came out of left field for me. I actually am surprised with how awesome it's looking. Apparently it's this game where you're cleaning up this space goo and you land on a interesting unknown alien planet, and it looks like it's gonna have a lot of interesting and fun 3D platforming mechanics, and it gave me those kind of Ratchet and Clank and quirky vibes. I thought it was really awesome, all things considered, and it looks cool. It looks genuinely interesting, and I can't wait to check it out. I'm pretty excited to try it out. Like when it eventually launches, I feel like we'll understand it more, probably get a taste of combat and stuff like that, the different enemies and monsters you'll fight. But I like what they're going for. This giant hulking arm you have, and you're sucking up goo and probably expelling it back to make platforms and stuff like that probably throughout the adventure. It's going to be awesome, and it looks like a really fun time. Which brings you to the next game that I was really looking forward to from the last Xbox announcement, the Medium. And I think the Medium is going to be insane. It has this very Silent Hill-esque vibe, and being able to explore this split personality of worlds where you're in the normal, human world and this toxic, dream, nightmarish hellscape, and going back and forth as they're rendered through real time and probably doing a bunch of puzzles and things and even outrunning monsters. That's going to be sick, and I really am interested to see what they're going to do with that. I think the Medium is going to be one of those games I got to keep my eye on, and I'm pretty excited to see where they're going to go with it. The two worlds at once thing just blows my mind every time. I think that's a really interesting gameplay mechanic, and really kind of goes to show off what you can do with these NVMe chips, that are going to be in the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Crossfire is another game that I'm kind of, iffy about. I played the beta, it was alright, it wasn't anything to write home about, but I am a sucker for military first-person shooter storylines, and this looks right up my B-movie alley, bro. You got an F-15 staring you down, blowing buildings back, the graphics look out of this world. and it's by, I want to say, Remedy, and these guys know how to make a good FPS, slash third-person shooter story. These guys are behind my personal favorite third-person shooter of all time, Control, and if you don't know anything about Control, it's that game where you explore this Metroidvania-esque agency, and it's really awesome, and you really highly recommend if you haven't got around to playing it. But this game, it's clearly nothing like that. It's going to be more lighthearted, more fun, and it got this cool, stealth camo ability, and you're sneaking up and backstabbing folk, and it's going to be fun, dude. It's going to be awesome. And that's, about it. It kind of ended with Fable. Fable looked like Fable. It still kept in the humor by Playground Games this time, which I believe are the guys that help out with the Forza Horizon franchise, so, I'm kind of interested to see what they do there. But regardless, it was, all things considered, not that bad. I thought Microsoft was kind of up there with Sony's in the same vein, where you have those 2 to 4 standout games where I'm like, I gotta get a Series X. I saw games like The Medium, I'm in. Halo Infinite, Psychonauts 2, games like that. It's just, I gotta get one. Phantasy Star Online 2, I gotta get one. The new Hellblade game coming out, heck yeah, I gotta get a Series X. But then it hit me, and this is where we enter the politics of the video. You don't really have to do that, and I think Microsoft was really drilling that point home here. They were always kind of saying you can play the game on the Series X and the best fidelity and all that, or just get a PC. And you know what? I like that freedom, and I'm okay with that. Seeing Halo Infinite for once underneath its subtitles say it's coming to PC on Game Pass, for 15. That just, I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy. And I think a lot of people are giving Microsoft flack for the wrong reasons. A lot of people are saying the games they showed off weren't really interesting, and that's a personal preference, or I don't really need to buy a Series X for this, I could just play it on my PC. Then do so. That's kind of Microsoft's point, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I feel like everyone is forgetting how big of a deal this really is. Game Pass is a thing where, if you really want a game, you can buy it and have it on your PC, or buy it and have it on your Xbox platform, and, go through those games and play them time and time again. Or if you're more of a, person who just wants to get your subscription fee and you're just trying to play a game really quick and you pay $15 a month and you run through it and you're good. It's there for those types of people too, and honestly, that's okay. I'm a huge fan of having this freedom where you can play for basically as long as you want and own what you want when you want it. And of course, with Game Pass, you get I believe 10%, 20% discount on games, so you can get them on sale eventually too. And it kind of stacks. So if you ever find something you really like, you could kind of mess around with Game Pass and then get it, eventually it's on discount or not. You have a slew of games to check out and play. Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori Will of the Wisp, which is getting a Series X upgrade, games shown like The Medium, which are coming out, and Psychonauts 2 and all of that. And yeah, you could just get a PC and play some of these, but also at the same time, we're kind of entering that era where 1060s, 1660s, all those cards are, getting a little outdated. You want proof of this? Please try to run Modern Warfare on the highest fidelity or near the highest fidelity. It's not happening. It's not on a 1060. I don't know what you guys want. Or try recording gameplay with the 1060, even just Valorant, right? And those types of things. Good luck. Good luck, buddy. Alright, good luck. You need a 2060 now. We're entering the era where you need the RTX cards. You need a 2060, a 2070, 2060 Super, 2080 ray tracing and all that stuff. You gotta upgrade. And I don't know if you guys know this, but a 2060 alone costs $400. Please take a guess how much the Series X is probably gonna cost. I'm floating around 500 right now. So everyone that says just get a good gaming PC, we get it, you have money. I'm glad you can find. I got money too. I'm gonna get a good gaming PC too. But at the same time, there's people out there that aren't trying to, drop, I'd say around 700, 800 on a PC. Because that's just not their thing. They rather just get the console. They rather just have the box. And that's what the Series X is doing. So if you want the box experience and you don't mind playing Halo, or you want to pick up the Series X later down the line and, get Game Pass with it and all that, you have that opportunity. They're playing the long game. That's why Microsoft is smart. I'm vibing with them because they're playing the longest game possible, and they've been building up for it since the Xbox. They knew they failed with the Xbox One. They're building up for it with the long game, with the Game Pass. They're sprinkling these games out, right? We're gonna get our bangers. We're gonna get our Halo Infinites, our Gears Tactics, which is already out, our Forzas, and all the usual stuff for PC and Xbox. But once those heavy hitters start really dropping, our Everwilds and Avons, Fables, and all that, I think that's when Microsoft is gonna hit their stride. This is just the trial run, and I think the games they showed off so far look okay, right? They look pretty good to me. I mean, I'm a fan of Stalker, as previously stated, so Stalker 2 was a huge sell for me. Obviously not for everyone. Not everyone likes a dark and gritty, I guess, Lovecraftian horror Russian Chernobyl simulator, essentially. Alright, that's not everyone's cup of tea. It's my cup of tea. It's not everyone's cup of tea. The medium looks great. A lot of the new IPs they're showing off are pretty darn cool, and overall I think Microsoft is really just finally doing their own thing. I think they kind of are blocking out the noise, and I kind of respect them for that right now. It's nice to see a press conference where it's just new IPs for the most part, right? Like, it was predominantly just new experiences, like The Ascent coming out later, new experiences by new IPs, by new indie developers, by first-time developers, by people that are just getting into the industry, and Microsoft is giving these guys a platform to not only boost their games, but they know for a fact people are going to try these games and eventually buy them because of Game Pass, and I think that is massive. I think that's awesome. I personally am really excited to see where Microsoft goes from this. I do feel like the press conference was a little bit lacking. Notice I failed to mention State of Decay 3. Well, what is there to talk about? It's State of Decay 3, and honestly, after State of Decay 2, I have very low hopes playing that game. So we'll have to wait and see. Overall, Microsoft, I'd give it about a 7 to 8 out of 10. All right, these guys did what they could, probably float in between a 7.5. A lot of the games to me were pretty interesting, although my biggest complaint again stands. I'm gonna need the gameplay. I'm gonna need to see what these games play like. Knowing how far out they are, though, I'm not too hard on them. We got what we were really here for when it counted. Halo Infinite, I want a gameplay. They showed the medium. That's obviously a launch title. I'm pretty sure like a hard lock for the Series X. I'm gonna need gameplay. They definitely delivered, and it looks absolutely incredible. A couple of the other games, Forza. Can I see a little something? It's an engine. Basically, what you see is what you get. It looks awesome. Everwild looks pretty darn cool. You get the gist. Phantasy Star Online 2 was the big one for me. So, overall, that is going to do it for my quick little breakdown of the Xbox Series X / let's just be honest, the Game Pass show-off stream. What do you guys think? Personally, I'm kind of team Game Pass. I think Game Pass is awesome. I think it's a great way to get everyone to play these games, and just to quickly cap off, knowing that you're going to be able to play these on your PC or on your Xbox One or Xbox One X, or if you're that kind of guy, you can just play it on xCloud through your mobile device or something, which has pretty darn good streaming from what I've been messing around with in the beta. I think Microsoft, they kind of got this in the bag right now. And knowing that you don't have, if you just want to try the games out and you don't want to pay like 60 plus or 400 on a console or 800 on a gaming PC, 750. I'll try to give you a budget build. I'm sorry. Let me try to be nice here. A 750, 700 budget build. You get the gist. It's gonna be a really interesting experience, all things considered. So, with that all being said, personally, if I were to rank the two and fight them up, we'll save that for another video. But as of now, I do recommend you guys pick up an Xbox Series X. I think it's going to be an interesting console to see where everything goes, or at the very least, just get Game Pass Ultimate and check things out. I think both these consoles are going to be awesome. They got their own, set of games. But what team are you guys on right now? Are you guys on Team Game Pass and what they're doing with, having games on everything essentially, or you prefer the more focused console experience with the PS5 and I guess technically Switch and what they're bringing? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching my breakdown of the gaming conference and my thoughts on all the games, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Peace.